Welcome to Complete BS, the official podcast of couch coaches everywhere. Not just football. It's every sport that ruins your parlay, wrecks your fantasy week, and still brings you back for more. Buzzer beaters, blown leads, and brackets and flames. Yeah, we're all over it. Unfiltered takes, armchair analysis, and enough bold opinions to fill a playbook. Hosted by Brien Schmauch, sports junkie, the Saban of stats and your official voice of, I could coach better than that. Let's go.
Welcome, Couch Coach Nation. We had 3 ranked teams fall to unranked opponents in Penn State, Texas, and Iowa State. Miami lays claim to being the top team in the country. Alabama gets revenge, and heavyweights Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M all overpowered their opponents. We're in October, and college football week 6 is in the books. AV, how was week 6 for you?
Week 6 delivered, man. There's good games every window. I sat in front of the TV all day long. I had the multi-view on, so just watched a ton of it, and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Absolutely. At 3:30, we got Florida 29, Texas 21. Welcome to the college football season, Florida Gator offense. You were missed in the first month and almost got your coach fired. DJ Lagway had 289 yards and no interceptions. They finally started giving the ball to Jadan Baugh, 27 carries for 107 yards. The offense was really clicking against the Longhorn defense. But that's not it. The Florida defense, they were playing with their hair on fire. They had 6 sacks and 2 interceptions. Texas was completely dominated and looked inept against Florida. Passing yards, rushing yards, third down conversions, time of possessions, penalties, you name it. Florida was the superior team in every one of those categories and all across the field. AV, tell me about this game. It was crazy.
Did you mention special teams? They blocked a punt for a safety.
No.
It was total domination, man, and a little surprising. I guess because of the amount of talent on Texas, you don't expect it just to look that way. They were outmanned. Colin Simmons took over a couple of series and got a couple of stops for him on defense, but Lagway was doing whatever he wanted to do. Jadan Baugh was doing whatever he wanted to do. They ran the ball up and down the field, threw the ball. I remember a couple of weeks ago, you talked about Florida still had talent on this offense or on this team, and that it could come together and to be a little bit patient. And I agreed with that, but this is what it was supposed to look like all year. Like, you have a tough schedule, so you may drop some games, but it wasn't supposed to look like what it had looked like prior to, right? So they used the bye week, they got right, and they came out and showed what they're capable of. Now, I guess the question is this Texas bad? Because I've got some questions for Texas, but is it a symptom of Texas being bad, or can Florida start stacking these performances? But confidence, games like this will give you confidence, and who knows what it'll snowball into.
It doesn't get easier. Texas next week, you've got the Red River rivalry with Oklahoma. Texas, you're not looking good. Oklahoma's playing really good. Will John Mateer play in that game? The Gators, they got to take this show on the road and show that they can do it again. They go to Texas A&M, really dangerous team. Both those games next week are really going to have a lot of say in the national landscape, but specifically the SEC race and where these programs go. Is Florida on the ascend and Texas on the decline? We'll find out and learn more next week. You also had Alabama 30, Vanderbilt 14. This was a tie game at the half and looked close, and then Bama flipped a switch at halftime, and it was utter domination in the second half. Vandy rushed the ball for 126 yards in the first half and only added 10 yards in the second half for a total of 136. Alabama's Jam Miller did 136 yards rushing by himself. Ty Simpson, he's playing at an elite level, 23 of 30 passing, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's fully in the Heisman Trophy race. The Alabama offense now, they're playing really well, and it looks like they've settled into Ryan Grubb's scheme and what he's wanting to get out of this offense. All things are clicking for them. That week 1 loss to Florida State looks like a distant memory.
Yeah, they're looking like the team a lot of people predicted them to look like at the beginning of the year. And a lot of that is Ty Simpson, man. He is in the thick of the Heisman race. 340 yards, very efficient. I think one thing that Alabama did was clean up their run defense a little bit. Like you said, 10 yards in the second half against a team that Pavia runs the ball. They run misdirection. They're tough to kind of scheme for, and they just dominated it physically. And I think one of the things that people have to get used to is this isn't ever going to be Saban's defense again, right? But they have Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer on offense. So So you can still win. You can still be great. But it's weird to see Alabama without a suffocating defense. That being said, they took a step forward this week, and I thought it was a dominant win, great win. Vanderbilt's undefeated. I think if Vanderbilt had, we mentioned it last week, Tennessee across their chest, this would have been a top 10 ranked game. But either way, they beat a good team, beat them handily, and they just keep on moving. Alabama's I think, would you say they're the team to watch in the SEC, the team to beat?
I think they're right there with Ole Miss. Right now, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Alabama, those three are all kind of right there in that mix. Vandy's got a bye next week, so we'll see how this loss looks as the season goes along. But no rest for the weary. Alabama next week, they go on the road to an undefeated Missouri, who's got a really strong ground game. That'll be an exciting game next week. In the nightcap, Miami at Florida State. This was Miami with a 6-point win. They jumped out to an early lead. Carson Beck had an efficient night, going 20 of 27, 241 yards and 4 touchdowns. When I watch him, though, I'm never really impressed with anything he does, and then you check the box score and realize, oh, he had a solid night. Florida State turned the ball over 3 times, and Miami didn't have a single turnover. Both of Florida State's interceptions were right after Florida State crossed midfield and into Miami territory. Miami gets the interception, and they take it down. They capitalize and get a touchdown. That was the difference in the game, the turnovers and Miami being able to capitalize on those. I think the Florida State defense played well enough to win, but when you're playing a team as talented as Miami, you can't lose the turnover battle 3-0. Florida State, they mounted a late rally, scoring 19 points in the fourth quarter. Mario Cristobal almost Mario'd this game and let it slip away, but too little too late for Florida State, and Miami gets the win.
Yeah, I think you hit it. And the turnovers, especially in that field position during those parts of the games, just crushed Florida State. I mean, you turn the ball over down 7-3, I think it was. They hit a big play and go up 14-3 immediately. You're digging out of a hole. You start to move the ball. You turn the ball over again. There was one 4th and 8 that, maybe they should have punted and tried to pin them, and they throw the ball, and it's intercepted, which is fine. It's a 4th down. It's down near the goal line, but the guy returns it 40 yards. And so you're just digging yourself out of a hole. Now, you mentioned the defense playing good enough to play. They held them to under 100 yards rushing. To do that, they had to sell out a little bit, and Beck hit some big plays over the top. So I will say Florida State, unlike last year, they played till the end, and they did have an onside kick that mattered at the very end of the game. I didn't see that coming when it was 28-3. Kind of the whole second half felt like garbage time, but they kept pecking away at it and made it 28-22. I don't know what you take from that. I don't know if that's notable or not, but at least it wasn't 28-3. So Miami seemed to be the better team. They seemed to have the better roster. Florida State had to play a clean game at home, and they could have won, and they didn't play a clean game. They had 3 turnovers.
I think for Florida State fans, coming into this season, you didn't think that this was going to be a playoff team. You were looking for progress after last season. You were looking to win 7 or 8 games, get to a bowl, get momentum back, and show that the ship has been righted. Most Florida State fans at this point in the season, if you were talking to them preseason, if you said Florida State's going to be 3-2, they would have been happy with that. So you got to understand where they were coming from to where they're at. There's still a lot of football to be played. This is a top 25 team, I believe, and there's a lot of talent and ability there, a lot of seasons still out there. Miami, this is, I think, the number 1 team in the country. Maybe not head-to-head if they were going to be playing Ohio State or Oregon. Would they beat them head-to-head? I don't know about that. But based on resume, they beat Florida State, who's got a 14-point win over Alabama. They beat Notre Dame, who just keeps adding wins, and that win over Notre Dame keeps looking better and better. They beat USF, one of the top group of 5 teams, and they're 4-1. And they beat Florida, who just beat Texas. There's nobody that's got a better resume out there than Miami. I don't think that the polls are going to rank them number 1, but the Complete BS poll will rank them number 1. They've got the best resume.
The thing about Miami's resume is it's the best by far on paper right now, but this is it. It gets worse from here, right? Like, they don't play anybody else. So they should go undefeated. They've built their resume. Barring injury or anything weird, they've got a pretty good path right now.
Absolutely. With our game balls for Saturday, I've got 2 of them. First one going to Mason Heichel, Pittsburgh quarterback. First career start, replacing a veteran quarterback who had been underperforming. He goes 30 for 41, 323 yards and 4 touchdowns, no picks. Led them to a 48-0 lead late in the game before giving up a garbage time touchdown to Boston College. First career start, true freshman. Game ball to Mason Heichel. And also Reuben Owens, running back for Texas A&M, rushed for 142 yards in A&M's 31-9 win over Mississippi Mississippi State. His running led the way to over 300 yards on the ground for A&M. That allowed A&M to control the clock for almost 40 minutes and keep Jeff Lebby's Mississippi State offense off the field. They completely dominated Mississippi State. Game ball to Reuben Owens. AV, you got some game balls?
Yeah, I got one game ball and one shout out. So my game ball is to Dallas Wilson, true freshman wide receiver for University of Florida. He had been battling some injuries. He steps in against Texas, goes for 6 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Maybe he's why the Florida offense is fixed. But he looked great. He's a specimen. A really good game when they needed it the most. And then I want to give a shout out to Tim Skipper. Did you see what UCLA did to Penn State?
Man, they destroyed Penn State.
And that turned out, I was watching that game, and it basically turned into a quarterback draw, quarterback running competition, because both quarterbacks led their team in rushing. Nico had 120 plus. Aller had almost 100, like 80. Where did Penn State's running backs go? Drew Waller's out rushing both of them combined in that game. Anyway, so that's my game ball and my shout out to Tim Skipper. I can't believe UCLA won that game.
That, I think, was the most shocking storyline of the day, more so than how Florida beat Texas. Going out to UCLA and UCLA looking like they were dead in the water. Penn State, really strong team, coming off of a loss, but they should win this game, and they got embarrassed. It's like they never even left Pennsylvania. But moving on, we've got questions, and specifically the North Carolina administration, athletic director Bubba Cunningham. I've got questions for. What were you thinking when you hired Bill Belichick to be your college coach? Was this just a PR stunt to get your name in the paper and get a little press, get some folks to come in preseason? Because right now, it's embarrassing. This is a UNC team that's 2-3 with wins over Charlotte and Richmond. They lost their opener to TCU, but the last 2 weeks, they've looked completely manhandled by Central Florida and by Clemson. Next week, they've got a bye before a road trip to Cal. The only game left on their schedule that I think they have a chance to win is when they host Stanford. Belichick, I know you know football. I know you know how to coach, but I go back and I think about your time with the Patriots and how many rookies started for the Patriots day one, early in the season. Even much in their rookie year, they didn't have a whole lot of rookies that played a lot for them. Why? Because Belichick's expectation of how they prepare, what they know, understanding of the playbook, tendencies, it's not there. It takes time to develop and learn that quote-unquote Patriot way. And they were a team of veterans. So you don't have that in college. You got guys that are 18 to 22 years old. Some kids 6 months ago were still in high school. They don't have that same kind of preparation, that knowledge base of football. Even an NFL rookie's got 3, 4, 5 years of college football under their belt. You don't have that with this UNC team. And I think his level of expectation for what the players should know, it's not there. And he's not changing his expectation. He's not changing anything about it. They're kids and they're not that good. And so it just looks a complete mess on the field. This is a failed experiment. Bubba Cunningham, I know you've already put in your 2 weeks notice and that you're retiring sometime next summer. You might as well go now. You need to take Belichick with you. This is a disaster and an embarrassment for a really good school that should have a solid football program. And that's all the stuff on the field. That doesn't even bring into account the sideshow circus of Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend walking around on the field pregame, flagging him over to have a chat while he's trying to get his team ready, and she wants to have a conversation pregame. I'm just talking on the field, the X's and O's. This is a disaster. It's an embarrassment. Belichick needs to be done with UNC, and they need to find a new coach. You got questions for anybody?
Yeah, I've got some questions for Steve Sarkisian, or should I call him Steve Franklin, because he is the James Franklin of the South. Recruits like Tarzan, wins things like Jane. Is this the best he's got offensively, what he rolled out there against Florida? Because that offensive line was manhandled by Florida. That quarterback was missing wide open touchdowns. The receivers got scared across the middle. They ran the ball for, let me check here, hold on, 52 yards, Brian, in an entire game with all that talent on the offensive line in the backfield and at quarterback and at receiver. You can't scheme up anything? It's embarrassing. It was an embarrassing performance. But the reason I have questions is all of that is First of all, is Arch Manning the best you got? Is anybody behind him? Have you tried anyone else? But this happens every year. Sark lays an egg every year, just like James Franklin, like Mario Cristobal. I guess you can recruit your way to a national championship, and maybe this is the year Cristobal does that. Like, they look really good, but he under it constantly, and you can still be good and underachieve. His roster is number one in the country, probably, and they walked into the swamp and got beat like they were an ACC bottom dweller. It was embarrassing, and Sark has that every year. I question him and the way he builds toughness in that program. They don't seem to have it. Maybe I'm being harsh after 2 losses, but get this. Sark is 0-2 against Power 4 competition. So it's Penn State and Texas are 0-4 against P4 competition. Both of those programs have what, top 5 rosters?
Oh, yeah. When you look at, I think probably 3 out of the top 5 teams preseason that everybody would have had in there, Penn State, Texas, Clemson, 3 of the most disappointing programs in college football this season.
Yeah, and at some point when you have that much talent, you have to look at why is that talent not performing like it's supposed to. I don't know. I've got questions. I probably won't get answers, but that's fine.
Well, we'll have some questions on Thursday for former Illinois All-American Jay Lehman talking Ohio State at Illinois. You can follow Complete BS Pod on X and Instagram, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening to Complete BS. Be sure to subscribe, share, and follow us online. And tell us what you think of this episode. Use hashtag CouchCoachNation, and let's keep the conversation going.
Hey guys, finding the perfect gift for the food lover in your life is easy. Thanks to Goldbelly. Goldbelly ships America's most iconic foods straight from world-famous restaurants right to your door. So if you want to treat someone to Joe's Stone Crab from Miami, Franklin Barbecue from Texas, or desserts from famous foodies like Ina Garten or Martha Stewart, Goldbelly has you covered. Just go to goldbelly.com and for a limited time, get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's promo code GIFT.